Thinking we should start a club focusing on books and our love of gaining knowledge through books.
I agree. With our love of reading and the sharing of stories, who knows, our little club could someday grow to have a major impact on our community.
But a name, we don't have a name. And with a name that depicts what we are and who we and what we're about.
Well, to me, that's simple. The Young Ladies Reading Circle. We're a group of young ladies. We like to read it with a club, while the club is a reading club. And then I just want to make sure that we think seriously about the name of the Young Ladies Reading Circle.
Perfect! You know, sometimes I feel like I can almost hear that conversation happening. Now, obviously the club started, the club continued to grow, it continued to flourish, and these ladies continued to get older. So they eventually changed the name from Young Ladies Reading Circle to simply the Ladies Reading Circle. And in addition to these literary studies they did, they also chose to incorporate civic, patriotic, as well as philanthropic activities into their mission. Now, in my research, I found that one of their endeavors from early on was to actually start a library in Morristown.
You know, we really need to share our love of learning with our friends and our neighbors. I think a library is the way to do that.
That's an excellent idea, but do we have enough books to be considered a library?
Well, we have enough to start a small library. We need more though to interact with the rest of the community.
Well, we are intelligent women, and I just think if we put our mind to it, we'll see it happen.
You know, I'll ask my family to donate books they no longer want, and maybe encourage them to donate money so we can purchase new books.
We can do fundraisers and have community events to raise money.
You know, and these ladies did so many community events and fundraisers, and with all of those efforts in conjunction with some other women's groups, they accumulated some 500 volumes. As a matter of fact, they kept all those volumes in the homes of some of the members, and I can't help but think, maybe this lady took all the books with titles ranging from A to H, and maybe this lady had all the book titles from I to M, and so on.
No.
But then again, that's probably not how they did it. Anyway, this library idea that they had, not only did it succeed, but those collections that they gathered that stayed in the homes of some of those ladies, that turned into the first school library at Roberts School. Now, as time went by and the Ladies Reading Circle continued to grow, they eventually became part of the General Federation of Women's Clubs. And then in 1917, they somewhat shifted gears. That was, of course, when the U.S. entered into World War I. Now, of course, the mission of the Ladies Reading Circle continued, but they shifted their gears to the war effort. They started raising money for the Red Cross, for the United War Work, for the YWCA, and they also made contributions to the war orphans. Now, these ladies did this exact same thing after the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, and of course, the U.S.'s involvement in World War II.
Ladies, I'm so proud of all our accomplishments, such as the library.
Don't forget about the downtown restroom for women. We gotta have that.
And our partnership with Somasol and DAR.
And bringing civic, educational, and cultural programs to Morristown during the summers.
Agreed, but I think we're ready for the next level.
But we need a place to meet.
A place that we could share with the whole community and other GFWC clubs.
A place that we can call our home base.
You know, these ladies ended up with the dream of having their own place, a place to call their home. And this dream actually came to fruition in 1925. That's when they actually opened their clubhouse. Now, it housed the Ladies Reading Circle, but also Somasala Circle, the Daughters of the American Revolution, but this clubhouse was also the first
public library in Morristown up until 1959.
I love our clubhouse.
I love the history of our clubhouse, including the fact that former owners, Dr. Richard and Ann Price, their daughters, Hannah and Anna, and their son, R.N., were all suffragists and worked diligently towards women gaining the right to vote.
Can you imagine having a clubhouse of our own?
Oh, ladies, I'm so excited about Ladies Reading Circle.
You know, they had such an amazing future, and it was all based on the hopes, the dreams, and the plans that were generated in that lovely building on West First North Street. No, it was East First North Street, but I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit. Now, as time continued to go, the Ladies Reading Circle, they became an absolute force in this community. They even started a junior reading circle. And you know what had started in 1890 as a group of young ladies getting together because of their love of reading, that turned into a group of women supporting Morristown in so many ways, in areas of art and culture and civic engagement and education and environment, and also in health and wellness. And all of this, because of that clubhouse, they had a place to actually generate and cultivate those ideals. Now, since its inception, the Ladies Reading Circle, they have been instrumental in supporting so many organizations and projects in and around this community. Things ranging from the Morristown Hamlin Library, to concert series, to summer recreation, to even daycare programs for children.
The Youth Emergency Shelter, Lakeway Center for the Handicapped, ALPS,
Morristown Hamlin Hospital, Rose Center, Civic Park,
Fred Millimore, Matt, Cease.
And Carpet Tavern Museum and the Humane Society.
Girls Inc., Serenity House, Food on Foot, Law Enforcement Canines,
a women's recovery support program,
And even the first fire truck house.
And there were so many other worthwhile organizations also.
You know, these ladies have supported all these organizations and projects. They have supported them financially. They have supported them with equipment. They have supported them with supplies and with in-kind services to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I'm sure you are familiar with some of their primary fundraisers, their chili luncheon, their salad luncheon, and of course this, their celebration tables. Now, let's go back figuratively, of course, to their clubhouse. In all of this research that I did, I found a lot of literature based solely on that clubhouse. Now, there's a quote that I came across, and I think is very powerful. I don't know who to attribute it to, but I'd like to share this with you if I may. Quote, "This house is a symbol of the power of women in concert with each other to help make the world a better place for everyone." Don't you agree? That's a pretty powerful quote about that clubhouse. Now, in all of this research, it has become very obvious to me that the members of the Ladies Reading Circle, they have always had a sincere love for this community and of course the organizations and the projects that they have and that they will continue to sponsor. But, and you may have heard this, you may know of this, Alabama, you mentioned it, but I did find out that when they were talking about what they were going to do with the money from tonight's event, well, the Ladies Reading Circle decided to take it home. They're going to use tonight's funds for the preservation of that clubhouse. In my opinion, I think that is an excellent idea, because if you think about that clubhouse, it carries so much history in Morristown, above and beyond all those hopes, thoughts, plans, and dreams of the Ladies Reading Circle. Those hopes, thoughts, plans, and dreams that have absolutely led to the betterment of Morristown, and of course, the people who live here. I think too, the preservation of this clubhouse is an absolute must, because you know, all these future thoughts, plans, and dreams, they need a starting point, and that is that clubhouse. Now, again, I'll tell you, I like to do my research, and I have only shared a tidbit of my research with you, but I can honestly tell you, after everything I found out about this club, personally, I would be honored to be part of it. Of course, we still have to. And what about you ladies here tonight? what do you think about the Ladies Reading Circle? Have you considered, or have you been thinking, you know, that's an organization I'd like to be part of. I think I'd like to join that club. You know what I think? I think you need to stop thinking about it and just simply do it. As a matter of fact, I bet you're going to the Ladies Reading Circle or anything. As a matter of fact, Sally and some of her friends, they actually have applications here tonight. You need to check with one of those ladies. Please join!
Okay, Michelle, we're gonna get you started off well. There's your application. And we've also got this nice ball for you. Thank you for all your help. You're welcome.